Hello, good morning. It's Thursday the 3rd of August 2023 and it's around about 11:15 in the morning, so I'm going to do a walk around Wentworth village, a pretty little village in Rotherham, and we're just going to have a nice gentle walk. I'll probably do 2, maybe 3 videos, just showing some of the buildings, some of the old buildings, the nice gardens and pubs, etc, etc. So let's get started. I'm starting here at the War Memorial, so we can just go and have a look. Just at a few names. Still space for, I suppose, people coming from the village who may, give their lives in some future war. So yeah, it's a nice little area. But we're going to walk this way, left. And cross over the road so I don't get knocked down. So anybody who's maybe watching this from other parts of the world, the United States of America, a lot of this land will be private, but it doesn't matter how private the land is. If there is a public footpath or a public right of way, which could be a public footpath or a public bridle way. A public footpath means that you have a right to walk on it. A bridle way is that you have a right to walk on it or ride a horse on it. The landowner has to keep that public footpath open for access. So I think that you can see there's an entrance at the top there, and there's this wall that you can climb over, and anybody can walk through there. And if the landowner wants to close that off for any reason, he or she has to ask for planning permission or permission from the local council, and he or she has to give a good reason to actually close it off, what for, how long it's going to be closed off for, etc, etc. Now, landowner can apply to have the public footpath moved onto another part of their land again, but they have to give good reasons for that. And we've got a friendly horse here. Hello. That looks a bit spiny to eat. Hello, pal. So it's not too hot today. I reckon the temperature, it's still in the morning, so it's probably low 20s Celsius, about 70 Fahrenheit, I would say. Bit of a northwesterly breeze, but it's only very light at the moment. Now there's the old Wentworth post office. Somebody delivering a package. Got a tiny little orchard here. Got some apples ripening up very nicely. And then there's accommodation in quite a few of the pubs. So we've got the Rockingham Arms here, and of course Rockingham is named after the Marquis of Rockingham, who, as we'll see in another video, used to own the big house in Wentworth. So I think this needs a bit of cutting back, the old Boston ivy. But that's spectacular because it's a bright red in autumn. So I think we'll just go through here. There's nobody out yet because the pubs aren't opened till about 11:30. There's a nice sitting out area. With the pub as a nice backdrop. And car park, everywhere has to have a car park. And I think there's 3 hours, you get 3 hours free car parking here. And I think there's a cricket pitch over there. And you've got this lovely old castellated house. Not sure how old that is. But basically we're walking along the high street, Wentworth High Street. Now this hedge is quite new, recently been planted, and the holly looks absolutely full of berries there. Birds will be loving that in a couple of months' time. We've got the old Smithy restaurant there. Again, it's a little too early, not open yet. These mountain ash, the berries on these are looking absolutely... It's quite red on my camera, but these are actually quite orange. Yeah, there we go. That's a better colour. I got the cute little village tea room and shop there. Isn't that so quaint? So cute. I've run out of pavement on this side, so we have to cross over. And then we come to one of the most photographed parts of the village, which you'll find on postcards of the village, which is just coming up here where the fence is, called Paradise Square. It's such a quaint little square of cottages, of old workers' cottages. Of course, most of these cottages were built for people who worked at the big house. But as I say, we'll visit that a little bit later. They used to have more roses in here, so it's not looking quite as colourful as what it used to do, but it's still very, very nice. Lovely. Nice clematis there climbing up, Montana. Lovely picket fence. Again, these are kind of 1700 cottages, I think, Georgian period. Wentworth stained glass. Now a lot of these telephone boxes are now being turned into little libraries or book changing, book swapping places or defibrillators for the local community. And again, this is a Georgian gentleman's home. Love that porch. That porch is just delightful. Ferndean, number 67. And the railings as well. Absolutely gorgeous. Cosmere flowering. Valerian just finished flowering. And we've got the village shop. Now we've got the Georgian dragon here. So there's the Georgian dragon. It's like they've just opened, so it'll be about 11 o'clock. Village shop opposite. Nice hanging baskets. We've got a wine shop there, that's lovely. So it's quite quaint. The courtyard area. It's amazing how the sun's been out all morning, and it was out when I started the video, but then within a few minutes of me starting the video, it's not been out since. And when I stop videoing, it will probably come out again. Any photographer, any videographer will know that this happens more often than not. But yeah, at least it's dry today. It has been an unusually wet July. I think we had summer in June. June was perfect. Virtually no rain, sunny every day. And then it suddenly changed from summer to autumn. But now we're into for July, but now we're into August. Hopefully things might get a little bit of summer back, we'll see. So I'm coming up here because this is the main path up to the church. And the sun's coming out a bit again now. In fact, there are two churches in Wentworth. There's a beautiful house there. Look at that old Mercedes. That's lovely, that. Wentworth Hall, which is now a residential home. Right. I shall have to get myself a gimbal. Because I'm sure when I bought this iPhone it said it had stabilisation on it, but it doesn't seem to be very good if it has. So here's Wentworth Church. We can just get a view if I come over here. Oh, perfect timing, that's 11 o'clock. So, Wentworth Church, you can see the church is quite big, much bigger than the village. 3, 4, 5. That's 11 o'clock. Just proves the time. Yeah. So basically this was a church that actually attracted people not just from Wentworth but from other villages around Elsica and other places. Not a very old church, 1870s I think. Trying to remember, because I do like my history, my local history, so I think it's around about 1870. And built in the Gothic Revival style. So you'll see these kind of Gothic smaller towers there. So again, this was part of the ornamentation that they built into this kind of Gothic Revival style of church. But I just want to visit what we're on 17 minutes. I want to visit the old church, which goes back, is now partly ruined, and it goes back to 1500 I believe. So we're now going into the grounds of the old church. Holy Trinity, they're both called the Holy Trinity Church. And that's run by the church's Conservation Trust. And this has actually been turned into a mausoleum, so I don't know if it's open. You can see how that area is a ruin. And the tower, not sure if you can go in there or if it's all just bricked up. (1789), 26 years. Daniel Twigg, not very old, was he? So you can see how, when a lot of these cottages, and in fact this church was built, do you see this sandstone here? The sandstone is very, very fragile and erodes very easily. So any pollution that settles on this building, as soon as you get frost, wind and rain, it starts to erode. On bits that are a little bit harder, like that, because obviously rock is not all of the same, or this particular rock is not all of the same consistency. Oops, get that. It's going to fall off anyway. It's not like anything, you know, this is going to happen regardless of whether I do that. There will be harder bits, and you can see the pollution there from the Industrial Revolution, with many factories in around Sheffield, Rotherham, Barnsley, Doncaster, just down the road in Elsica, for example. The air back then, when it's a still day, would have been thick with smog, and when it rains as well, it would have been all up in, dissolved in the rain, and then it soaks into the brickwork, and you're left with this dark crust, which obviously where it erodes, where the stone erodes a little bit more, you see the actual original stonework. And you can see where they've done some pointing there to try and keep the stone up. Some stone is a lot harder than other stones. So on these gravestones, so 1835, so this stone has been out here for almost 200 years. And you can see it's black. But this is obviously, this is harder sandstone, or it may even be limestone, I'm not sure, but probably sandstone, but a harder type of sandstone that doesn't erode as quickly, and hence you've still got that dark pollution. And if you think about it, it makes sense. You want your memorial stones for people who've passed away to last a very, very long time. You don't want the rocks eroding. I think it's going to be locked, this. Yeah. So in there, that is now a mausoleum for the second Earl of Strafford, William Wentworth, I think his name was, and the second Marquis of Rockingham, Charles Watson Wentworth. And if we could go in there, you could see the kind of tombs, etc. So there we go, we've got one there, 1762 and 1763. That's probably quite a new stone. That is probably maybe, I don't know, that looks, for that era, that looks quite in good condition. Yeah. So, just walk up. (1828). And again, you've always got yew trees planted in graveyards because they're a symbol of long life. So what I'm going to do, I think, is we're on 23 minutes. Is give you a, I could go into the church, but I've deleted a lot of stuff on my phone, and I think I've got about an hour, maybe a little bit more on my phone, and I've still got quite a bit of recording to do yet, so I'm not going to go into the church today. It's 11:10. But I just want to leave you with, if we go along here and walking along this path. By the way, earlier in the year, there's a fantastic old bank or hedge along here of mainly holly. And you come along late April, early May, and there's lots and lots of holly blue butterflies. Look absolutely gorgeous. They're only small, but you see quite a few of them on a nice warm day. If you get a nice warm day, late April, early May, then you see these beautiful butterflies. So I'm just going to walk to this area. So just as I'm coming to the end of the walk, the sun's coming out. And just a quick one, if you go through here, you actually come into the beer garden of the Georgian Dragon. Again, got a children's play area there. Americans might be a bit shocked that you have children in a pub, but yes, pubs, you are allowed to bring your children into pubs. So that's a lovely place to sit. Having a drink. I'll just come back out here. I want to walk to here and just leave you with a little fact about the village and the reason that the church is there, and what this path here that this couple are walking along, what it means. Probably not what it represents, what it means. You probably can't see it, and I'm probably going to start my walk off right at the end where that traffic, you might be able to see some traffic in the distance going along there. And there's a wall, there's a gate, and then there's a road, and then there's a wall. And that wall is the boundary of the big house, Wentworth Wood House. And there's a church. And the idea was that from the back door of the big house, there is a straight line that goes, a straight path that goes a mile, almost exactly a mile, from the house to the church. And back when the church was built, I say around 1870-ish, the road that's presently going across wouldn't have been there, and the family would have had direct access from the big house to the church along here. And if you come along here in April, late March through April, there is a mass of daffodils all along here, and it's absolutely beautiful. In fact, we're on 27 minutes. I might just... So that's a lovely shot of that church there. And again, you can see how they've used really solid, much more solid sandstone to build the church and the house than the actual buildings that are in the village, because the erosion that I showed you on that old church from 1500s, even though most of these cottages are kind of maybe 1800s, maybe going back to the 1600s, and there will be some that go back to the 1500s, they are also eroding quite badly. But yeah, so let me just carry on. We'll take it up to say 30 minutes, about 30 minutes, as we walk along here, and you just get a glimpse of some of the chimneys and roofs in the village there. You know, and just sit down and take in the view. Lovely copper beach there, beautiful, and then got the church spire. And actually, rumour has it that there is one tree, I don't know which tree it is, I don't even know if it's still here, but the 6th Earl, I think it was the 6th Earl, wanted a clear view of the church spire from his property, and therefore what he did was, as I say, wanted a straight line, but there was a tree in the way, so apparently moved the church off the axis a bit to keep the tree. I'm not sure how true that is, but that sounded quite progressive for the time. But then again, the family was a Liberal family, in the respect that the Rockinghams were the founders of the Rockingham Whigs, the forerunner of the Liberal Party. So, you know, you've got a Liberal for the time family, which is why they were thought of as being quite decent landowners of the day and quite decent employers, you know, for the time, compared to some other employers. So yeah, we're on 30 minutes now, so I'm going to leave you with that view there. I'm going to start off just a few yards behind me for the next video, so bye for now.